Love me some Letterkenny, man.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably what I want. You guys are staggered really nicely right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like Letterkenny, but it's funny. I think when it comes to that type of stuff, I prefer Trailer Park Boys. Because it's like Letterkenny's almost like smart. It's like supposed to be dumb, but it's too smart for that.
It is really smart.
Yeah.
But
so
it's
I'd almost rather
hilariously
like the guy that just fucking like does some ridiculous shit.
I tell people that if you watch Letterkenny once without subtitles and then once with subtitles, you'll pick up new jokes.
Well,
You'll find no jokes
Dude,
because
too fast.
so many of them are just literally spelling of words, and if you don't have like a literal Rolodex in your head of how every single word is spelled exactly all the time while you're listening to people, some of them just kind of go like there's jokes within
like
jokes
a
within
British
jokes.
TV too. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm listening and just watching a British TV show, I could pick up some jokes, but if you have like the subtitles on, you're like, what word did they just use for that?
Yep.
It's interesting.
Yeah, the wordplay, I love that in Letterkenny. You said I'll have a dart, so you spurred a conversation.
Yeah. It's a great show.
Yeah.
All right. So you get in a comfortable seating, and then I'll make sure you're in frame, and then we'll start rolling and mission.
Get you closer to Hunter if I have to.
Yeah.
It's not really structured. I do have some things that I want to talk to you about, but
Good.
You know, if you have anything you want to talk about, I mean, it's just a combo. Super loose.
Possibly. There's a neat little story about a guitar that I just bought.
Nice.
That might be fun to talk about.
Nice.
But we'll see. You know, whatever it gets into. I'm not worried about it.
All right. It's about 11:30. We can have a nice frame of reference for that.
Word. Yeah, I always forget that.
Yeah, well, sometimes I put the coffee in there, and then it's got like a few seconds left, and then I don't know what the fuck time it is.
Well, the problem is that we smoke.
Yeah.
And then it's like we've been talking.
Problem.
Time is relative, man.
Problem or just a nice enhancement.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Van Brain, everybody. If you notice, you look around, we got 4 guys here. Or I guess you can't hear that if you're listening to it. You
It's
can't
going
hear the
down.
4 guys, but you feel it. We got Dylan Madar here.
Hello.
Thanks for
Howdy.
joining us,
Yo.
Dylan.
Thanks for having me, dudes. This is cool,
Yeah.
man.
Dylan's our good buddy. Dylan sets up our guitars, a luthier by trade, a guitar man in his blood. I don't think you could help that. He's just a guy about town and a good friend of ours. Happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me, dudes. This is real cool.
Yeah, also plays in a band, Flapjack Jones, in the Bender Bros. Yep.
Do that.
Oh, congratulations on your nomination for the best rock band.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. And
Oh,
you
nice.
as well, guys.
Yeah.
Are we in the same category
Yeah.
this year?
Are we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh,
Well, there's
wow.
not a lot of like rock bands.
That's
like
so
people
funny.
that like play. Like
That's
I
like
could compare you guys
proof in the pudding.
guitar wise a little bit.
Sure, I
as
mean-
far as like being rooted in the blues.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's good to see some some good like-minded guitarists.
We also do we've got like a rockabilly surf style we both enjoy. And,
It's true.
you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, definitely.
I never expected to end up there, but that is where I ended up.
Yeah.
Is that how you were, or did you kind of have that background too?
now when I started, I kind of was already listening to like the older. I grew up with my grandparents a lot.
Gotcha.
So the older 50s rock and roll was
That's
always
awesome.
there. The swing and jump blues was there, and then my parents kind of got me involved in some other music. But yeah, when I started taking guitar lessons, my guitar teacher was a rockabilly dude. Quentin.
Nice.
You know,
Oh
Quentin
yeah,
Jones.
Quentin. Yeah.
So he was like, "This is rockabilly."
But he gets you into like Chet Atkins and shit like that.
Yep. And that's
Real early.
that was what killed me, because when I was a kid, I was like, Steve Howe, Chet
yeah.
Atkins,
Yeah,
these
yeah,
dudes. I was
That's
like,
awesome.
I'll never play that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and dude, you played
then-
so good like that.
I just buckled down, dude, and tackled them out.
Well, that's a lot of like jazz chords and like playing with your fingers.
It's a thumb pick style
Yeah.
called Travis picking.
Travis picking.
That's what it's called, because a guy named Merle Travis.
Merle Travis.
started
Yeah.
it.
Merle Travis is the shit. I
He
was
would
actually
use his thumb and his forefinger, his index finger, thumb and his index finger, and that's what he would use. And then Chet Atkins kind of took it to the next level, learning from him, and started using his whole hand. And then you have all the certified guitar players like Steve Howe and Tommy Manuel, all these guys. It's a whole like world that came from just that style of thumb picking.
Yeah.
And you usually use a thumb pick to get that kind of percussive sound on the bass strings, so you can do like the 1-5 on the bass, the boom, doom, and then get your in there with
Man,
the thumb pick.
you do it so well.
Boom, Chuck.
Thanks,
The
dude.
last album you guys just did, it was really good, and it has that the one song that just like totally is that like Steve Howe moment.
Family
on there.
Dinner,
Oh, it's so good.
And I kind of told the guys, I was like, man, we were listening to a lot of Yes, well, I was. I was like, it would be cool to like have a little Travis song in the middle of a rock record, just like
Yeah.
Wes used to do. I'm like, why not?
Well, Led Zeppelin does that too. Just have like a soloist, just have like an acoustic little thing happening. That's like, it's a cool thing when bands do that.
I think so too. It kind of takes the record in different directions, and that's neat.
Yeah. You guys get wild on that too. Like towards the end, I forget the name of that one song.
The big song at the end.
Yeah. It's like running something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't have my phone here, but I remember one like sort of progressive leading song that was pretty.
There's
good.
a few of them and we're writing some stuff right now that's even getting, we're just going farther and farther out, which is I dig, and I'm excited for another record from these dudes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, writing with those guys is like that's just the most fun. I'm sure you guys know what that's like when you get together. You have some bones, and then you turn it into this thing, and it's like
So
We've
That's
been doing
such a
that
great
recently because we're out of commission for so long, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that other day we got together and like almost wrote a whole song just out of like a riff I had, a riff he had, and he was playing the Purdy Shuffle. You know, that
nice.
was
That's
classic
shit.
shuffle.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh well, I can do this like in that shuffle feel, and then it's just like all falls together.
yeah,
it's
dude.
a beautiful
It's
thing.
great, dude.
Yeah, we had that demo come out, and we worked on some like 2 other demos at the same time, and the one that we wrote basically on the spot is feels to me already closer than the other one.
Yeah,
I've been,
yeah.
which is just like sometimes that shit happens. You
Well,
know?
and it's funny because we were supposed to be recording and like practicing and like doing like work, and then we just let's work on the rest. We gotta write songs,
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes that work is fun, the most fun.
That's one of my favorite parts of the band.
That's where you guys are now, halfway through an album, or like
Well, basically, once we released the album, we already had like 3 or 4 tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Already
were
still
already
going.
kind of it's all still moving, and then we put everything up on a whiteboard. And just kind of
that's
start
cool.
like let's mess
we
around
did-
with that
we
one
did
again.
that,
Let's
yeah.
mess around with that one again, and so we've got a lot of tunes. Like we've got probably another full length sitting there.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
sick.
But we just haven't. We've only delved into like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Crack the can. Yeah. So when you guys write, do you like? Is it you cut? Does anyone come with a full song damn near, or is it really just riffs?
It's mostly our keyboard player.
Gotcha.
Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's crazy.
As far as songwriting goes too, and
Oh, that's right. I do remember hearing about that.
yeah.
I don't know him very
Well,
well.
you were playing with Derry Miller's band, like
Yes.
I remember when
I remember that.
like way back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Short hair
that's
Dylan.
over 10 years ago. Yeah. All sorts of different hair Dylans. But yeah, him and I started playing, and we were really good friends. And
Nice.
just after we stopped, we kind of took a break, and then I kind of pulled him out of the woodwork. I was like, "Come on, dude, get that
We should be
piano
doing
back
something,
out."
yeah. So he'll
That's
write
happened.
songs or like
He'll come in with kind of here's a intro, and then maybe a verse or a chorus melody, and then it's like that's what I got. Or sometimes he has some more complete parts. He might even have an instrumental.
Yeah.
Most of the instrumental and the jam stuff happens in the room.
Yeah.
Like we'll have this part, and then it's usually the bass player because he's music nerd, so he's like, oh, we can move to the 3 or the 5.
Yeah.
And then now we have like an instrumental section that isn't necessarily completely linear with the melodies you've already heard. So we like
Yeah.
doing that kind. That's like the prog thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Stick a bridge in there that goes
Right.
someplace.
Yeah, like a bridge that is musical and not just like
Yeah.
we need a bridge.
Yeah. What we've been leaning into is like the whole like just the things that make rock and roll without like having to talk about it, like just how things build, how many times this would be, where stops would go, like things that are just like intuitive with like going down that like ancestral road of rock and roll.
Absolutely, dude.
And like we've been kind of like leaning into making choices like that, and it's like in the way that we do it, which ends up still the way we do it. But I mean, do you guys agree? It's like we've been kind of following that like traditional road in a way,
It's true.
because we're a trio now too. So it's like each thing matters more.
I
you know?
noticed that. I listened to the 2022 record you guys did, Medusa's Disco.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this thing just has attitude from track
man.
1 to the end. It's just attitude, dude, and I like that.
Yeah.
And what else I saw was no one was being lazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Every single
yeah,
person was doing something creative,
That's cool.
and obviously, if you get too many good people in one spot, sometimes it gets a little hodgepodgey. Everyone's just trying to show off their latest riff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
But
what
like,
I can do.
it felt tight, but it felt like you were being thoughtful, and
Yeah.
that's what's important to me.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, right.
Because, like,
Yeah.
really
I
do
do not
appreciate
want to
that.
hear a band where all 3 stringed instruments or whatever are doing the same 1/5 power
Right.
chord.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, there's nothing sitting in that for me. Like, there's nothing to pull out. Right?
Yeah, and well, if you look back, like, I mean, Rush is a band that Alex and I enjoy
huge
a
Rush
lot.
fan. Yeah.
And like even like the funk tradition, like playing like different things, like, you know, that's intuitive. Like to like making when you have like small like a small number of musicians, you can't have like a keyboardist just playing like, you know, chords, or like a rhythm guitarist. It's like, and that did change, you know, when we went from a 4-piece
4 to
with
3.
Winton down. Like, do you find the way you like make your guitar parts now, like you don't have that other guitar there? Does that change
Yes.
the way you think about
Yeah.
how you write that?
Absolutely. I'm in a way I'm less lazy.
Yeah,
Not
right.
that I was lazy before, but you know, it's
Oh, yeah.
you have, well, being the only guitarist, you do have more freedom in a way to dictate what might be major, minor, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, shit like that.
What that part's gonna be.
Yeah, what that
That's-
part's gonna
that's-
be.
That one guitar is like
Yeah.
what kind of drives the thing behind the vocal,
Yeah,
aside from the
exact-
rhythm section. of
No,
course, but-
absolutely.
Yeah. So there's kind of more responsibility, so you can't be as lazy. And then there's also not another guy to follow, like, which I really dug coming up with something to complement the other guitarist.
Yeah.
Yes, it's fun.
But yeah, that's fun. But that's not the same thing as coming up with something that is essentially kind of like two guitarists in one.
Yeah.
This is kind of what you want to be doing as a guitarist.
Well,
Sometimes.
in some sense.
Yeah, no, I think you hit on something cool.
I think about that because I'm used to being a 4-piece, but
But yeah, it's almost like that rhythm guitar is implied to be there. So like neither of us are
Right.
like doing that, because it's like you know that what it should be.
That's a good point.
So like we can be doing melodic and like other like complex things off of that, like, and that's like funk theory. Like we know the ones there, guys. No, we don't
Yeah.
have to play it.
True.
Like it's just these, you know, gears.
less is more.
Yeah.
Like I used to play, like I was very into playing the full bar chord shapes, and then you were like, one great lesson if anybody's listening, like a beginner, is to only play parts of that chord. You know what I mean?
If you're in a band, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like you can, if you're in a band, if there's a bass behind you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And then because that makes the chord.
it makes a
essentially.
chord.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then it sounds less like a wall, and then you get more melody out of your chords.
Do you find, Dylan, that you're able to be more like melodic because you have the keyboard there too?
Yeah, actually, that was something that was a thought I had while he was talking, and I was like, writing with a piano player.
Yeah.
As the piano, to take like our rock, the way we would structure a rock song, and we structure it with that guitar, whatever that is, and then we come around it. When it's a piano, it's a 10-note chord possibly,
Yeah.
and
That's funny.
There's always a chord happening.
yeah, and it's the way it moves
Yeah.
is not like a guitar.
Yeah, it's
No.
We have 6 pianos on like our guitars, right, or 4. So
Yeah,
we
right.
can move linear like that. We can also move linear like this, but a piano can move through the chord. You can hold one chord and just keep moving the bass down through the
Yeah.
whole scale.
Right.
That's kind of hard to do on a guitar unless you're in
Yeah.
certain keys.
Yeah.
So I had to think like, all right, what chords are you playing? And then when we go through each chord, it's like, oh boy, like, are you gonna play every single one of those full bar? Like, that's crazy.
Right,
It doesn't
right.
make
Yeah,
any
yeah.
sense.
No, it doesn't.
You have to
because
think
of the way
about
he's
that, too.
moving.
Yeah.
It's like he's just moving the 2 up there to get to the next chord, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a different chord. But
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense for me to do every single one
No.
of those.
Yeah.
So I learned this back when Derry started playing piano in the Vale, and I learned it quick. Because at first, I was like, oh, I'm kind of a riff player.
Yeah.
I'll play a riff behind the melody or
Yeah.
whatever. But then when he started doing these chords, I'm like, I need to do something in the melodic section
Yeah.
where the vocals happening.
Right.
That's cool.
That isn't taking away from that because there's already so much there.
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
started picking one note and then play maybe 2 of whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Then when we got Cody involved, Cody will learn all the chords. And most of the time when we're writing, he'll be doing a bar chord full shape.
Sure.
And then I'm like, hey, check this out. And he's like, messing around with it. I'm like, just play the 1 or the 3
Yeah, right.
of this part. And now we're both doing a harmony pad like you would
Yeah.
on a keyboard.
Yeah.
Or a
Yeah.
horn
With
section.
with that big keyboard chord.
With the keyboard, and then
Yeah.
we're doing like a little harmony pad underneath the keyboard, so that it's kind of like a small horns or whatever.
Yeah.
But dude, that's
cool.
That's
Yeah,
how
ensemble.
I think when we write. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right,
That's
learn
awesome.
the chords, and now forget them, and now I'm just playing these seemingly random notes.
Well, that's
Yeah.
so wild
Yeah.
because, you know, just the perspective of like like the process just gets so differentiated when you have different players. Like what makes your lineup like that, your group of people good is you're all writing with that in mind always. And like same thing with us as the trio. It's like you have to. Yeah. But I was thinking about that role. That's like the Steve Howe role. You know what I mean?
And
like
he was a big teacher of mine because I sat there going like, what, like
how to be the guitar in that space.
How do you, and also like where does a Travis picker sit when he's in a band?
Yeah.
Because his idea is like, this is the band.
Yeah.
Right. The thumb and the fingers. That's what's doing all the parts.
Right.
So there's not a lot of room for that when you have 6 guys. Sometimes there's a rhythm section where it sounds cool. But
Yeah.
I had to start thinking like a little less like a guitar player, more like a horn section or something like that. Or Brian May is another example.
Yeah. Brian
the way
May's.
he moves his guitars, sometimes he's crashing a full chord because he's the only guitar player.
Totes.
But other times he's got 3 or 4 tracks that are just playing a horn section or a moving pad. Yeah.
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 Which both of those guys I took a lot of influence from going into Flapjack and Allman Brothers too. That's a huge one for the band.
Yeah, well, that makes
that's
a lot
really
of sense because that's like the full band. You could have a little bit of that Brian May and Steve Howe, but the overall like Allman Brothers, like that's everybody's.
So let me ask you a question. When you say like when you relate it to like a horn section type thing, you mean like almost the way that is incorporated in the song, as in like you're not playing all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And
And
even
like
if we are,
a
it's
chord
soft
of
behind.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I do understand what you're saying. It's interesting doing that. Like if you've ever like because. You know, you make songs on your own.
Yeah.
I make songs on my own. So like I'm filling those parts on the like within the songscape. You know, there's no like guitar player that's coming up with the the little thing that's going to get buried to the side.
Yeah.
That's the hook of the guitar behind the vocals.
Yeah.
So in a way there's less like ego or like thing around. Not that if you're playing with somebody,
that's not an extra person's.
Yeah, exactly.
for sure.
So I have the ability in a way to kind of step back and not have like, this is what I can do mentality behind it, like you were saying. It's more of just like I'm gonna slip this in there because it fits nice.
Yeah.
And it's just me.
That's important.
So it's like
that's how I pick it up.
But it's like you're doing both of those things at the same time.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you and I do it, it would be like, oh, we've done the main guitar, and now what does it need? You know? So and you know what the difference is that the keyboard in there. Because the keyboard like fills out so much.
It does.
And then it's like
you have to completely rethink.
You're wearing different hats at different times in probably the same song. Depending on what's called for.
Like a lot of times it's Cody and I doing that harmony part, but sometimes we're like, yo, organ, let's do another harmony.
Yeah,
and then now we have a 3-part that moves.
Yeah.
That's usually on a lead section or something.
Right.
So how's the role of the bass player change then? Because like is the bass note, is he thinking about the piano player playing bass notes too?
Yeah, well,
or is the piano player consciously
like
not
City.
certainly playing bass notes because the bass player is also hitting those notes?
I think that's up to the individual bass player because
Yeah.
Sometimes that double would be good though. Too.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
doing a walk.
If you're walking, what are you doing as a bass player? You're thinking of every single relative note to whatever chord you're on and the chord you're going to.
Yeah.
So you're moving between all of those relative notes to get a good walk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
So
if it's funk,
each step needs to make sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
if it's
You're good at
funk,
that.
it's a
Yeah, thank
percussive
you.
You are,
thing, right?
yeah.
Like if you're doing a funk thing instead of a blues, it's a percussive thing. So you
Yeah.
might just play the one in the octave.
Totes.
Yeah.
That's my that's my go-to.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know how to
so
play
I don't
bass,
know.
but
You'd have to have Flat on to talk about that, but
Yeah.
I hear him a lot.
That's
Rarely is he doing the
Yeah.
root, and he's almost always
Okay.
locked entirely on the kick.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
the way.
Like if you have that in mind as a bassist, you're doing the right thing.
Because
you know?
if you do
and then you
funk-
have to be
Sounds
like
great.
conscious of like making the drummer look like the fucking shit. You know what I mean? Like you should be like the people are like, why does that sound so good? And it's like because it's this gel of like the section. you know?
and
then
that
not being
becomes
and
a
just
thing.
being like
Yep.
letting. Well, if you have an amazing drummer like we do, I'm just like being that glue between these guys. It's like
You're turning it into a riff. You know what I mean? Almost.
oh, the drum riff.
Yeah, you're turning the drum riff into
Well,
a more tangible riff for
yeah,
people to
so-
like.
Some drummers are
grasp
like
onto.
that, where they have the fucking ability to like play a thing you remember, or like a thoughtful lick, you know.
Yeah.
So like sometimes
It's melodic
I'll do
almost.
slides and
Yeah.
like augments, just the fucking noise, just to like.
Yeah,
percussive.
it's so true.
I think a really
Lots of
important
slides.
part in
Yeah,
there
lots of
too.
slides.
Yeah.
I slide a lot.
You
I'm
do.
a slide.
An important part in that topic is the
'Cause of
drummer's
rhythm.
responsibility to assume the rhythm.
Yeah.
So it's not always the kick doing,
Right.
he would do something less involved. So that way the bass player and the drummer are doing, like an R&B style.
Yeah.
Versus a rock style. A rock situation, the drummer is using that kick pretty much anytime it can get in there.
Yeah.
An R&B style is like the less kick you use, the better it is somehow.
Yeah. Well,
So-
Alex,
That's a great
how have you
observation.
been with, like, because you've definitely embraced more the rock style, but lately I do feel like you've been sort of being having like maybe the trio having that space maybe is informing like the different styles, or is it just been you listening to older music?
No, I mean I've always had like some like decent influence in like jazz and stuff like that. I really like jazz, and like jazz drummers, it's more like ride snare and like very much in the same way that is, where the bass drum is more to like accentuate things and not as much to like hold things down. Like
It's like to pull that hit in there.
Yep.
Especially in jazz, right?
Yep. But the beat is really on the ride and like the backbeat, on the snare, or
Ghost
and the
notes.
snare also
and
is
you're
kind of more
ghosting the whole
embellishing too.
time.
Yep.
So if you were doing that with the kick too, it would sound closer to a metal song.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just jazz, bro.
But that's always been there. But it's easier to be more fluid in that with 3 people than with 4.
Right.
I think that's really like in a way, like to kind of like try and stitch together like the jazz and rock instead of like being more straight rock and having.
Yeah.
You definitely do that.
It's a lot easier to do that with the 3 of us.
Yeah.
It's easier to
It's
do
weird
it because
that space opens up. Yeah.
Yep, because I know when I mean it's not like he didn't like jazz or anything, but I don't think it influenced his playing as much
It
as
was
like
some chords.
you guys had.
It was some
It's about
chords.
swing to me.
Yeah.
Like I noticed you guys have a good handle on that because like when you have the ability to swing and everybody can do it, then it's just like you just can lock in a way where you almost have like the knob of like how much do you want to do it. Everybody's on.
Swing is fun, man. I love swing.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of freedom in the hits too, and that's what's cool. The stops and the accents.
Yeah.
Yep.
The dynamics of the whole thing.
Yep.
Well,
yep.
and what makes a blues or a swing song interesting, what makes a blues solo interesting, is when it's not just blues.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you hear a blues guitar player, you're like, oh, this is great. But when he does some kind of move that's like, oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
You kind of go, oh, now I'm listening again.
Yeah.
Right?
Stevie
Like,
Ray Vaughan does that really good.
Yeah,
Where
Stevie
it's not
Ray
just
Vaughan
like
is also
by the box.
But sometimes he does. Stevie has like these licks that you
Yeah.
could almost be like Stevie lick 1.
Yeah.
Okay, Stevie lick 2.
Background.
And all those rounded licks that he's doing,
Yeah.
so you could basically play 3 notes and then grab a different note each time he goes up to it.
Yeah.
And it's like you can just
It's a loop.
do
yeah.
it forever.
Yeah.
Like
That's
he's
what I was doing in the van for all those those 3 years we were touring on the fucking ukulele.
Yeah, the
I was practicing those loop licks.
yeah.
So
and-
who's a blues player
It helps
to you
with speed.
that is like that?
dude? Honestly, I love Derek Trucks.
Who does he play
that's
with?
my
That's
guy. He had Derek Trucks band, but he was playing with the Allman Brothers with Warren Hayes, and
Sick.
I saw them when I
That's
saw
where you
them
saw
when I
them,
was a
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
With those two,
Right.
left and right. And
Same style with the thumb picks, right? Or
no, Trucks is he basically uses his index finger
Gotcha.
because slide's a totally different beast.
Oh,
than-
right,
than
right,
thumb
right.
picking.
Oh yeah.
So when you're playing slide, you have to use your thumb, the meat of your thumb, to lay across the strings you're not playing. And then your index finger or whatever fingers are happening there are going to pluck the note.
Oh, interesting.
Because otherwise, you'll get a bunch of
Yeah, you have
caterwauling
those.
from
No,
the back.
that's so true.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
a lot of really good slide players like Trucks or Aerial Post, and there's a bunch of guys out there. They'll play with the end of the slide, the very tip of it, like it's your finger.
Yeah.
I started playing it when I was a kid, and I was terrible at it, but years and years and years. And then I started being able to play it.
Yeah.
But I don't play with the end of my finger, so I'm a little less accurate than those guys, I noticed. If I'm playing lap steel, then I'm playing with the end of the slide. I got
Gotcha.
used to it that way, but it's hard for me to do it this way.
It is way different.
And I
Way
also
different.
started learning how to play like behind and in front. So I'm using these 3 fingers along with the slide.
instead of the pinky.
So you can
Yeah,
play
yeah.
just kind of regular lines and use the slide as an accent to move up
That's
shapes or
cool.
whatever.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
But
In standard tuning the whole time?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
And I
dope.
made that choice when I was a kid too, because
Yeah.
Derek and Dwayne, those dudes are playing in open E.
Yeah. Which is way easier for sliding because you don't have to.
It is, and you get some really neat melodies out of that, those
Yeah.
shapes.
Yeah.
But I was just playing in too many different things, and I was going like, if I'm gonna pick up a slide in the middle of a set,
Yeah.
I don't want to also have to pick up a guitar.
Yeah.
So I just committed. Warren plays like that too. So I'm like, well, why not? If you're gonna follow somebody's idea, then use one of the best.
Yeah.
But I like what Derek does with like his sevenths and his thirds. He does a lot of like Indian influenced
Yeah.
parts in the middle of a blues solo.
Right,
It's
right.
also like sometimes it's Elmore James, sometimes it's very soul driven, simple stuff. I just like the complexity of his blues playing, and I'm like, that guy's one of the best.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll definitely have
BB
to check
King
him
is
out.
great,
Yeah.
but we've all been stealing BB
Oh,
King
yeah,
licks
yeah,
for so
yeah.
long.
Yeah,
We've heard it.
yeah.
And when you add a little bit, a little bit of something different in there, it just makes the blues song so much more interesting, I think.
Yeah, man.
So true.
What kind of guitar are you playing these days?
Still my Gretsch 6120.
Yeah, that's a nice beast.
Dude, yeah. I have a bunch of guitars,
Yeah.
and I recently got a Les Paul, a 91 40th anniversary ebony
Oh,
board.
sick.
Gorgeous.
Ebony,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's real slappy. It's got P90s. It's kind of like country sounding. I also have a Telecaster that I built, which sounds more like a Les Paul than my Les Paul does. It's all like mahogany and rosewood, the whole thing.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet guitar. I like it. It just doesn't have the same kind of punch that my Les Paul or my Gretsch do.
Well, yeah, it's just smaller wood.
And it's a lot more dense sound. It sounds like an old Les Paul. It really does, but it doesn't sound like my other guitars
Yeah,
at the same time.
yeah.
So I take the Gretsch or the Les Paul out most nights, usually both. And really the Gretsch it does stuff that none of my other guitars do. I mean,
In terms of range or just
everything,
sustain?
dude, everything.
Yeah.
Like that's my guitar for sure.
That's how I feel about my Rick. It's just like nothing else does that.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
And you're rocking the Telly, right?
No,
Strat.
the Strat.
Oh, the Strat. Right.
Yep,
You do have the Telly, but that doesn't have the whammy on it, right?
No, it's a Fender Duosonic.
Duosonic,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think I've set that up for you too. I don't
You
know.
probably did.
How long have you been doing that? Because
it
for
the
our
Seafoam one?
listeners and
Oh.
viewers, Dylan is a luthier, and that's,
I'm a tech right now.
Well,
yeah, guitar
you just
tech.
said you made a guitar. Then.
I didn't cut the body and neck.
Okay.
I bought those and put them.
Well, I
together.
respect that you're being so specific.
Now I think a luthier has a lot more years under his belt than what I currently have.
Fair enough.
I have been doing it for a long time, but not full time. And I went in and out after a few years.
What about Guitar Doctor?
What's that?
Guitar Doctor?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like it is. I take my baby in for a checkup, you know?
Yeah.
Take him to the doc.
The way I think about it is more like a guitar mechanic.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just because like my day job is like pulling work orders
Right.
and just being like, this needs that. I go find it, pull it out, do the thing. Next, it's kind of like pull the next one in. Let's
It
get
definitely, mechanic makes a lot of sense.
a doctor. I feel like a doctor when someone says, "Hey, Dylan, can you come take a look at this?"
Yeah.
And then I walk up to the front and I'm like,
And then you just walk away.
It doesn't look
you know,
good.
Yeah, you
that
don't
feels
actually
like a
do it.
doctor.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, this is bad. It's going to cost a lot of money. All right, have a good day. You know, but
Great point.
what I'm
great point.
doing from like 9 to 5 is kind of like more mechanic work.
Yeah.
Wednesdays though, I go and meet with my mentor, the guy who got me into it most recently. Again, he gave me a really good opportunity to basically make this a full-time job
That's awesome.
and a career, possibly.
dude.
You know,
That's sick.
yeah.
which is that was
That's the goal,
big
right?
part.
To
Yeah.
music for money.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I go meet with him, and we do a little more complex things. That's the surgeon
Yeah,
end.
that's cool.
So I've done a few headstock repairs with spline inputs, which I'll show you guys pictures of those later. You'll be like, you do that to guitars. I mean, dude, we're cutting huge holes and filling them and blending them. It's really interesting.
That is cool.
And it opens me up to getting guitars that I usually couldn't afford.
Right.
Because people have a lot of Gibsons with broken headstocks, and I like Gibsons. And people have a lot of Gretches with their binding gone and eaten away, and I like Gretches. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
it's like, I'll give you this much. The guitar's worth.
That's true. You know how to make it
That's
back
so
to
yeah, so
it's
that
fine.
kind of opened that up too, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
That's a cool little benefit to that.
So like restoration.
Yes, I do.
Nice.
So yeah, the restoration side is more like the surgeon. That's the luthier.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing every day.
Yeah.
More what I'm doing is like stuff like what I did to your guitar. I set it
Yeah.
up, I intonated, I put pickups in. I do,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I do, because I'm learning lutherie stuff, what I can do at my bench gets bigger and bigger and more and more. But
You can cross some of those lines. Well, maybe
and
technically I can't do it, but I
there's
might be able to.
machines, there's stuff that you have when you're a luthier that you need and use every day. Whereas
Yeah.
what I'm doing, it's a little like I don't necessarily need that for every job, but sometimes I need to make a truss rod cover. Out of
And
a
you know how to
plank,
do it, though.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
And in either case, I've been doing that since I was about 17, and then I stopped for a little while, got back into it. Pandemic.
That's crazy that you did it way back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I worked at Roseville Music out in Lancaster, down in Oregon Pike.
Have you always lived around here?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Maytown.
Because I met Dylan back in the Lizard Lounge days.
Yeah.
Back in the good old Chameleon days.
Oh,
Dude,
wow.
Way back.
I remember seeing you upstairs, and showing you one of the. There was a group of us and you guys were working. I forget what show it was. I want to say it was Twiddle.
Okay.
Do you remember working a Twiddle show ever?
Bro, I mean,
Yeah.
how many
you're
shows
like-
did you work there?
Oh, hundreds.
Yeah. Do you remember them all?
No.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I had to ask, but I remember showing you those fucking Stevie Ray Vaughan licks because somebody told me to show you who I was hanging out with. I forget who I was with. Somebody else who
And that
knows
was
you
back.
well.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time
So
ago.
you were mad young.
Well, is that when
Yeah, I was
working
probably
there?
21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that when I was working there?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 7 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked there for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there for like
Yeah,
4 or
for a
5
while. Well,
And I didn't-
you see, I met you when I was in Derry Miller and you were running monitors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
upstairs.
That was even before I worked there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You guys
Yeah.
were playing those sweet upstairs gigs. That stage was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Especially back in the day. Like, you guys remember playing the Chameleon, you know?
Oh yeah, that was great.
That was a thing.
It was a big deal.
It was a huge deal.
Yeah,
Totally,
when we were
totally,
young.
man.
Yeah.
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 And then once you start getting out of your area doing what you guys are doing, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
there's the goalpost gets moved.
Well, it's you want to be at the Chameleon of every town. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the goal.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you try to get as close to that as possible.
absolutely.
But sometimes you just go play to people and it's a fucking good time, you know? It doesn't we
Yeah.
played out in Pittsburgh at this winery. Sick setup. It's like not a venue, like an indoor venue, but it's just like they had a good setup and treated us
Yeah.
really well and
when it's a party, it's
they're
a
having
party,
us
it's
back,
great.
and it's just like it's like
Money's
everybody's there as fans.
Yeah.
Money's good.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's fine too. Like we're playing. You guys, I mean, I imagine you probably played at least in the higher gun situation, like a private gig of some kind.
With
wedding
that, right now, yes, I've done those
Yeah.
before, but right now, what I'm doing is like a Legion circuit,
okay,
which is hilarious, dude.
that
Really?
is-
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's good. It's good exercise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I started doing
You're
it.
still like having gigs.
Well, and the guy I play for, he kind of like we'll have like 4 hours, and I like when he challenges me. It's also like kind of like I'm like, where did that song come from? Like he'll call a song on stage.
Oh, shit.
And sometimes I'm like, I didn't know we had that one, you know, and maybe I missed it or whatever. And I'm like, all right, I think I've heard that before.
yeah.
And I look at the drummer, he's like, I think I've heard that before.
Yeah. Well, that's
Okay,
a level.
let's go.
That's a level that's insane.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
that's wild.
It's fun,
Yeah.
dude. I like it. I take a tablet.
You got to
with
trust
me.
your band when you're doing
I
it.
take a tablet with me
Yeah.
to help out sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's appropriate at those gigs.
How many songs in the
Dude,
act?
he sends me about 4 sets, 4 hours. Yeah. It's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's
and I
so
just took like one day to kind of like run through them all, make sure everything was right.
Yeah.
And like the lead parts, like, listen, these ladies want to dance. They're at their Legion, their local Legion,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
They're not going like, he flubbed that lead part. He missed the second. That's
No.
supposed to be a second, not a third. You know, or whatever. Like,
Like I'm not impressed.
but I'm like, I know in Landslide there's this bone. I'm like, I think I can get something close to it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I just, yeah. So
well,
it's
dude,
just-
Yeah.
have you ever? I'm sure you have, and you definitely have. Like seen a band cover a song where it's pretty clear that they all are just like, yeah, we know what this is, and
Oh,
but
yeah.
they've rehearsed it that way. It's like never the right song, like a band of dads. I remember seeing a band of what is a band of dads. It can only be described as a band of dads. Although a band of dads should be now our.
That's basically what I'm doing.
yeah,
that's
Tired
great.
Dads. Band of,
Yeah.
band of dads for dads.
yeah, but like better though. Like
Yeah.
like
I don't know.
these are just like basement dads, you know.
Yeah. This thing I'm doing is
Not
pretty
professional
crazy
dads.
because I just I love all the people that I play with, but this guy he's so lucky. He gets these amazing guitar
Yeah.
players and bass players and musicians to play this stuff with him. And so the whole night we're just doing this thing that's like
It's
we
the
don't
awesome
practice.
jamming.
It's
Yeah.
just jamming, dude.
Yeah,
The way
with
I
like,
look at
with
it.
like top dudes.
Yeah. And then I made
You're
a lot
going
of
to school.
connections and
Yeah.
exactly.
You're going to
So
school. You're
that's
going
been-
to
that's
like
been
a
fun.
That's awesome.
like a fucking art jam with the local badasses. down
Yeah,
at the
sometimes,
Watermill.
yeah,
having
yeah.
a beer and fucking
Yeah.
slinging.
Well,
some
they
dick.
like the blackberry brandy.
There you go.
That's what they go
Yeah.
for. But it's not the same kind of fulfillment I get from being in a band with like my best
Yeah,
friends.
yeah.
You know,
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like that is and writing that
and-
music
yeah,
and then
yeah.
really giving it to people and
Yeah.
then going like, I like this.
Yeah.
What? Like,
Yeah.
That's
Are
crazy,
you go-
crazy,
are you-
awesome feeling.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to the award show?
I
Did you get your tickets?
think we are.
We're going.
BCR,
yeah.
the place I work, BCR Lemoyne. We are going, I believe. 'Cause
Nice.
I think
You
we've
guys
won that
are-
a few times.
Yeah, you guys are up for like what best music shop?
Best music shop, dude.
Hell yeah.
I think we won last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I
the
think
year
you did.
before,
I
one or
think
the
you did.
other.
I remember that.
Which is cool, man. Like, that's neat.
Okay.
It makes me feel good. It means my work's being,
Yeah,
people keep coming back. I'm the busiest I've ever been right now.
That's
It's
awesome.
insane, dude. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
And
with
they keep
playing in
coming
those
back.
bands, and then what you play down
Even in my day job, dude.
Where do you play every week?
Oh yeah, Blue Sky Tavern in Edders.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a drive, but the bar is so cool. The owner is such a good dude. You guys should actually. I'll hook you up with him. It's a small room, but 3 of you will fit. And he just loves music. The owner.
Yeah.
It's like a Grateful Dead Allman Brothers bar.
That's sick.
And this dude treats musicians so well.
Yeah.
And it just is such a great guy to work for.
Those are the best guys.
Can't say enough of good stuff about
That's
him.
awesome.
So he's like, hey, I want you to play here every other Thursday. I'm like, dude, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You're a great
Yeah.
fella. So
Yeah.
that's what I do. I go in, I Travis pick for like 2 hours.
That's so cool.
Dope.
I recently brought my buddy Mike out, and he's never played with anybody before. He goes, I'd like to play 9 Pound Hammer with you some night. I'm like, all right, come out on a Thursday. We played it, and he just sat there for the whole 2 hours and jammed with me. And I
That's
was
so
like,
cool.
I was like, well, you're on if you want it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, nice.
The deal I have with him, because it's my job, I get the money, and he gets to drink and do whatever he wants. I drive him around all night. And
That's a good deal.
he's not in a band. He doesn't play with people. So to
Yeah.
him, it's like he gets his one Thursday out every other week, you know?
Yeah.
So we kind of do this deal, and it
Plus,
works out great.
he's playing with you. It's probably good, and he's good.
He loves it. He's like, dude, playing with you made me a better guitar player and all that.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, absolutely. Just jamming with people
Yeah.
makes you so much better.
Oh
It
yeah.
does.
100%.
Which is why I do it.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to,
I have a friend, a mutual of all of, well, me and him, I think you less, Ryan Perry.
Okay.
And, like, he comes over all the time to my house and we, like, jam. And he's, like, has been playing guitar for a pretty short amount of time, like, just, like, a couple years. And, I teach him a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And he's, like, gotten so much better in that time. And it's
Yeah.
just so cool jamming with somebody and, like, watching them grow. And, like, teaching them, like, oh, hey, you can do this. And, oh, yeah, you can do this.
Dude, it's like that with my bass player that I play with now. His name's Flat, and I think I met him when he was 11, and I was like 12.
Is he Flapjack Jones?
Yeah.
Right on.
There you
And
go.
and
We're
Asher,
We're learning so much.
oh no, Flat Jack Jones. His name's Flat.
Oh, Flap. Yeah. Oh, man.
Which is a funny
That's hilarious.
funny thing for a bass player to be called. His last name's Flattery. It's like given,
Flattery. That's
yeah.
so good.
So great dude, but we met when we were like children basically, and
Wild.
me and Asher, who's our auxiliary percussionist, we knew each other since like kindergarten. So we were always trying to get into music somehow,
Oh, yeah.
and then finally we got guitars when we were 12. You know,
Yeah.
it was great. And Flat,
It's happening.
yeah, and we were always friends with Flat. He was like the younger kid who was cool, and he was like, "Guys, I want to play guitar." And we were standing there with our guitars. We're like, "No, you want to play bass?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?"
That's
We're
how I
like,
started
"Get a
bass.
bass."
Yeah.
So he finally got a bass.
That's fun.
And dude, watching that guy, once he got the bass, he's coming over to the basement and we're playing together. Watching that guy to where he is now, he's like one of the best musicians I know.
That's so cool.
That's
His
awesome.
brain works in the way that you want the bass player's brain to work. It's he's so great, dude.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put
It
it.
really is a beautiful thing when you get the right group of people. You know?
Yeah, dude.
Because you can have the right group of people, but the one of them's an asshole.
Well, or you got the right group of people, and a couple of you are assholes, but you can be like, "Oh, you're being an asshole." It's like, "Yeah, you're right. Sorry, bro."
Yeah. Well, that's different.
like,
That's
the right
that's
group of
reasonable.
people,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
You want everybody to be have opinions, but not be opinionated. You know, come
Yeah.
with ideas, but don't care about them that much.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, because you can get someone who wants to be the dictator, and that's tough to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless they're like clearly the best, or it's that's or a higher gun situation.
Yeah,
in which
they're,
case just
they're
pay,
doing
pay
all
you.
the work.
Yeah.
and they're like, "Don't even worry about it. I'm just gonna pay you."
Yeah,
If
or
you'll
just
show up
do
for this
what I want.
Yeah, then let that
Yeah.
I'm used to doing those. I like those because
Yeah.
I have the patience to deal with it. Quite frankly, they can yell and scream at me all you want. I'll be like, "All right, $100, please.
Yeah.
See you next week."
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's a job then. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And you're just at the bottom of the screaming ladder. That's fine.
We used to a little higher gun story from my New York bass playing days. My drummer friend that I was playing in the band, the Trakes, with in New York, he got this gig because we all worked at rehearsal studios and like because everybody rehearses in these studios there because nobody has their own like garage or whatever.
Yeah.
So we were working there, and he got this gig with these two guys that were doing an off Broadway like rock opera.
Oh yeah, baby.
And these guys, and so he got me involved playing guitar, and it was basically the Trakes playing bass. He was playing bass. It was that band, and then like another guitar player, and every practice we would show up, and they would just give us a bottle of Jack Daniels, and they would have one for them, and then half of the time would be them having cigarette breaks. And like we would be getting paid like $50 an hour to do this.
Oh, love that.
It was so
dude.
good. And then we
Love
did
that.
like the dress rehearsal, and it was like this off-broad. Like the singer was this like 13-year-old girl, so it was like this like
Brutal.
It is ridiculous. So they're like, yeah, dressed like as sexy as you can. Oh yeah, they're mad gay. I mean that I don't know that matters, but off Broadway, probably. But they're super great guys.
So-
but they like
so
to
you're
they
being
can
as sexy
fucking
as you can.
drink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, be as sexy as you can, and then we did the
I love that.
the show. Yeah, so I was like, fuck
great.
yeah,
That's great
So we
overview.
did the show, and it was like they were like, oh, you guys got to be available to like do all these shows, and this is gonna be a huge hit.
Oh,
and then
sure.
like nothing happened
Yeah,
from it.
no.
But we did like the 4 weeks of rehearsal and like the show. But it's
great,
just like
dude.
sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah, you
You're
made
just
it to
like,
the end, dude.
Yeah, I'll do it, and it's your time. If you just want to smoke cigarettes and get drunk. Like, that's
Yeah.
cool. You want to yell at me? That's cool. Like, as long as I'm getting paid.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, we just did. We got like 7 guys together in a theater and did like a shanty EP.
Oh,
like,
awesome.
That's been getting popular.
That's so cool.
And
that is cool.
our one buddy was always really into it, and he showed it to us, and we were like, "Yo, we can make this work."
Yeah.
And we had a table and a couple microphones set up, and the table was the instrument, just pounding it,
Oh, that's
drinking,
so sick.
glasses and shit falling
Yeah,
over. It was
yeah.
great, dude. It was a party.
Just like harmonies.
Yeah,
and-
it was one of the
yeah.
most and none of us were getting paid for that.
Yeah.
But I was like, I will dedicate a Friday night to doing this, and now that we've done it, we'll do it again.
Dude, that's cool as shit.
So look out for the Susquehanna Shantymen. They're
Dude,
gonna
I'm
be
so
on.
about
they're
So
gonna
like
be on
sea,
Spotify.
Yeah.
it's like sea shanties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And we recorded Susquehanna Theater. They let us borrow the space for an
that's
evening,
really
and cool. It was sweet, dude. It's like an old church.
Yeah.
So
So,
the-
it sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun, dude. It was fun. It's sloppy. 8 guys getting together for a vocal thing. Two
Yeah,
of
yeah,
them, a couple of the guys aren't even singers.
yeah. Well, you need those guys.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, bring
Oh,
these
yeah.
dudes along, let them just be the cannons, like
Yeah.
they're just doing the melody,
Yeah.
and then everyone else, some of the more like the guys who are in bands and stuff, we
yeah,
had
then
doing
find
some
the harm,
harmony. and-
find what it is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
but
Write-
no
write a couple
practice.
limericks.
We did 3 takes of each tune. By the 3rd take, we were all wasted, so it was
Yeah.
like, this is unusable. Just throw those away.
Yep. Let's go
But
with
yeah,
the
I
first
think we
one.
got something. We'll see.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
fun. I'm gonna have
That's
Ian
sick.
Corneli.
I used to do that all the time.
Oh,
in New York.
nice.
I actually
Yeah.
did. I'd called it pirate rock,
Oh,
but it was
yeah,
like
dude.
more with like floor toms and like
Yeah.
cannon sounds.
Like
but
a
like when I had access
flogging
to
Molly thing, kinda.
No, it's just more like super droney, like I don't know, pirate yo-hos and stuff.
Oh,
Lots of
interesting.
yo-hos.
Yeah.
And so we would do that when I had keys to the studio. When I worked in a recording studio. I had keys, so we'd like after hours. The whole building was rehearsal rooms, a music shop, recording studios. Is the
Sick
famous
place.
music building in Manhattan.
Wow.
Right by Madison Square Garden. So all the weird like studio rat kids would like hang out after everything closes at from 1 to 7, and fucking drink and record shit and jam, and we just like pick genres out of a hat. Not literally, but let's try this, let's try that, and then I would record it because we were So I have like all these fucking weird bands that we would just do. Let's do a goth band. Let's do a pirate band. Let's do it. So I love the idea of like doing that for like the musical adventure of it. Let's fucking do this because we can.
We might do some more complex stuff, and we have like a show we could possibly do because we're thinking about doing something at that theater. So like if we did it, it would be like a traditional thing. Here's what they were doing in Marietta at that time.
Yeah.
And then like all the proceeds go to the theater.
Are the lyrics about
thing.
like local things?
We do have a song currently that has something like that going on.
Yeah, that's cool.
We haven't recorded any of the original stuff, but we are working on that. So it's gonna be
I
sweet,
like
dude.
that.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
And it's most people I talk to about it are they hate it. I don't know if you know this, but most people hate shanty.
What?
Oh yeah, dude.
Is that true?
Not good?
It's annoying, quite frankly.
Well.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of David Coffin?
I think so.
Oh, he's a great shanty guy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you're into it too?
Oh yeah, I mean it's just a bunch of people singing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's literally it's
like
a gorgeous
traditional.
sound.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous
it's
sound.
Like plain
It's all
song, the limerick. It's got a traditional vibe.
roll the
Oh,
old
definitely.
chariot
Oh yeah.
around.
Yes.
Dude.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. It's
Yeah,
great.
he knows it, dude. He knows it.
Yeah, he does.
We've got a few of those.
Dude, he's the weird guy because we'll be in the van and he'll
It's
have
true.
his like playlist. Like I'm
hell yeah.
old school. Like I want to listen to if I'm at home, I'll listen to an album. Back to front usually. Alex has this like crazy playlist that's just everything from his mind. He's like, I like that, and it just like goes in these crazy ways that you wouldn't expect. But it goes all over the place, from like big band to like death metal.
Yeah, I got
So
like
he's got you might
Pennies
think-
from Heaven, Infinite Annihilator.
So that like Louis Prima is like what I grew up on.
Oh, nice.
Like, that's like what I remember being a kid. Like I know all of his stuff. I think anyway. It's like
Yeah.
Pennies from Heaven. Like
I love that song.
Yeah.
I'll probably listen to more of it now that you said that.
Oh,
because
dude.
like I just like came across that song recently.
his band is amazing.
Yeah, I love his
there's a
voice.
song he does called Next Time,
Next time.
which is a story about his saxophone player getting arrested. It's
geez.
hilarious. And the saxophone player and him are just like, it's live and they're going back and forth on it.
That's cool.
Dude, it's real funny. So he's like,
I'll have to check that out too.
his live shows are great to listen to because he's telling jokes and doing like musical jokes and the crowd's laughing and like, oh dude, it's
That's hard to pull off. If you can do that,
oh,
that'd
he's
be cool.
good. He's good. Trumpet player. Louis Prima, yeah. Guy's fantastic.
All right, I will remember that
And you'll hear like,
because I wrote it down.
it's blues. It's a whole style called jump blues.
Okay.
Dude, you'll as a drummer, you're gonna be like, oh shit, this is neat. It's
Awesome.
like melodic, but also jazz hits, and
That's
it's
cool.
That sounds
Yeah.
great.
It's crazy how much when you go back, there's just so much stuff that just didn't get picked up in the popular culture of like what people.
I mean, he had a
know.
few hits, dude. That guy had a few hits, like
I mean, it's still. I mean, there's people who still listen to it.
yeah. Obviously,
Yeah.
we're here.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Buddy Rich too. I
Oh,
love
yeah,
Buddy
dude.
Rich, man.
Yeah.
He's the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's as a drummer, yeah. I think I'd be a good one to.
Also, he's just like got the personality of like he knows he's badass.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like not willing to like tolerate you being like not.
Oh no,
badass.
yeah.
Oh, you. So you
Hear
guys have heard
stories
the
about
rants.
that guy. Oh yeah.
There's one recorded. Well, it's not a full rant, but it's pretty bad.
What like you can listen to on YouTube?
Yeah, you probably find it. Yeah, it's just
Wow.
Buddy Rich like flipping out on somebody. He's just like, I'm up there working my ass off, and you're gonna fucking do this. I fucking, like I practice some, flipping out. Get the fuck out of here! Like
Wow.
he's paying him.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
exactly.
He's paying him, so
And good enough to know who's slacking.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like that with all those dudes at that level.
Yeah.
Like imagine being in any of their bands. If he shoots you that look, you must feel like shit. You're
But
like,
that's
yeah.
why you're there though, is because you know that. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah.
you're getting paid to be that guy.
yeah.
I don't know. Chick Corea seemed kind of cool. Like I've watched some stuff. I don't know much about
Him personally.
him personally,
Yeah.
but
He might be cool, but
It's like fusion
he's
jazz.
still good enough to know who's
yeah.
sloppy.
Well,
It's
also
true.
with
That's why he plays with, like, Dave
fusion
Weckl and
jazz-
shit.
Yeah, exactly. With fusion jazz, they like with jazz in general, like pushing the boundaries of like what might be considered not right. There's like it's super loose, you know.
Yeah.
What I'm saying?
Exactly.
So like
Yeah.
it's almost like if you go out there and it's like 80% of what it should have been, the fact you went out there at all is like whoa, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
That counts for a lot in jazz. So fusion jazz, it's not gonna be. How can you be like that wasn't correct? Like, what do you mean that I played this
I guess that's a
13th
good
chord?
point.
Like, what do you mean it wasn't correct? Like,
guess
we're
that's the point.
we're fucking experimenting, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause that's how they talk to each other.
I love
Come
that.
on, bro. Let's play some
on, bro.
augmented 13ths, bro.
I just saw a video going off of what you're saying about Buddy Rich yelling at someone.
Oh yeah.
I saw a video of Chuck Berry
Oh shit.
yelling at Keith Richards.
Oh, I saw that.
What?
About like his amp.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wanted to turn down the volume or the tone or whatever. My guess is whatever was happening, it was fucking with the tape. Like it was,
They were recording, yeah.
Yeah, it was clipping or something.
Yeah.
And Chuck Berry's just like yelling at Keith and everyone like, if that's how it is, that's how Chuck Berry wants to play it. That's how Chuck Berry, like talking to himself like as
Yeah.
if he's in third person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this couldn't be more of an ego trip right now. Like
I mean, it's
it was nuts.
Yeah.
all right, bro.
But
think
it was
about
like
this,
old
man.
times, you know. Like I
Think
understand.
about this. If you are getting up in front of that many people all the time, all right, what does it take to get there?
Hard fucking
Drive.
Yeah.
Hard fucking work.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be at that level, Chuck Berry level,
Yeah.
Keith
Yeah.
Richards level,
Yeah.
you're going full steam ahead. And how easy is it for that whole move to become an ego trip?
Yeah.
I deserve to be in front of all these people.
Yeah.
I'm special enough to be in front of
Yeah.
all these people.
Yeah.
They need to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
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 You're right.
The whole thing's a trip.
It's
dude.
easy.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, man. Like,
Totally.
I don't know.
Well,
not
whenever
that
you're
important.
feeding off the adulation of like strangers and like it's basically people worshiping you. Like,
Yeah.
like it's almost like people who are humble about that. Like, and that's why I try to look at it as like an exchange, because if I'm buzzing hot like that, it's because of these guys and it's
Yeah.
because of those guys.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
And
right.
if I'm buzzing hot, it's like you know, they're responsible.
It's
They-
like
they're,
it
you know.
goes from that like ego trip to this. I deserve this. This is mine. To like, oh, look at this love that's happening here.
Exactly.
It can be a sacred thing.
Yeah.
So
Where it's
true.
like,
It
this
is,
is our
yeah.
time to
It's
do
just
this thing that people care about.
It's the acknowledgement that we're all involved.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I
It's-
think a lot of those people, because they've worked so hard,
it's about them.
exactly.
given everything, all of
Yeah.
their relationships, all of
Yeah.
their like, no home life for them, no dogs
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they've given it all away for that, and so they're going, yeah, and that's their, you know, I think it's kind of a. If you listen to podcasts, you listen to famous people talking, they all say the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I worked way too hard into this whole thing, and I don't even really like it. You know,
Yeah.
You know, like it's kind of
Oh right.
it's kind of an interesting like way to look at. Like it's like,
Yeah.
oh, they're just obsessed.
Yeah.
I know that because I play guitar. I know what it took to be a Travis picker.
Right.
It took me
Obsession.
driving everyone insane, like doing doom chick, doom chick,
Right,
doom chick,
right.
and it's like playing it badly for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And hours, like 8 hours of trying to learn one song.
Yeah.
And I didn't talk to anybody that day. And my wife's like, I haven't seen you all day today. You've been on that couch like for 8 hours learning that song. And I know that obsession.
Yeah.
I would have to take that and scale it to playing in front of people at a stadium. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how much hard work it
And
takes. Like,
it
Right,
takes
right.
a fucking shooting star of luck.
plus that.
Yeah.
And it takes everyone liking what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like it's just so
Sometimes
many
not
things.
though. You can be shitty
No,
and
that's
just
true.
like
Well, it-
force fed to
it-
enough people, and they're like,
Yeah,
I
that's
like
true.
this now.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
Circumstantial.
how many like pop musicians are like that? Where you're like,
Oh, a lot of them.
we know you somehow had the money to get there.
Absolutely.
It had
yeah.
nothing to do with
Yeah.
your creativity.
Where somebody
Yeah.
really liked you and paid you a lot of money.
Yeah,
And
or
you
whatever the deal
This
was.
has got to make money.
Well, a lot of pop songs aren't necessarily always written by the
No,
artist.
they're not. Actually,
no,
when you break
not
them
these
down,
days.
they're good and complex. You know, sometimes.
Yeah.
You're like,
Sometimes.
oh
Oh,
shit,
yeah.
that
No, that
piano
is
part
true.
is
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Do they know they're listening to an augmented cool?
They don't. They don't.
Well,
Right,
like,
right.
I mean, I would almost kind of consider it pop, but Bruno Mars, I bet he writes some. I bet. He
Oh yeah,
writes his
he's
own
great.
stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying
But,
everybody in
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like you were saying, some of it stands out as
Well, I
more
feel-
like
Sure.
creative and interesting.
Sure.
And
You know
complex.
what I found is that so there used to be this niche in music that rock had where it could explore the boundaries between the other genres and do things that the other genres couldn't. And I feel like because that doesn't exist now, pop music is able to do like the Silk Sonic thing where like Lizzo's last song
it's
is like a
crazy.
fucking big band like I mean
Yeah,
like funky.
it can do whatever it wants
Yeah,
to.
so it can
Yeah.
so pop has kind of become this like adventurous thing in a way where you can have those chords and do the things where it's like that's a James Brown beat and riff.
Yeah, right.
But it's like it's just accepted under that pop umbrella now because
Yeah.
like almost being retro is
Look at
is
popular
accessible.
country right now. Like so far from country.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and
So true.
it's not my thing. I love country music. I love rockabilly. I love old
Yeah,
surf,
yeah.
and all of that stuff from the 50s and 60s. I listen to all the time.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
great shit.
But whatever's going on there, I'm like, this is a complete stray. And
Yeah.
there's also like some strange culture in there too. But it's like they've kind of taken away country music too. It's like it's just a melting pot of other styles, and they put a fiddle in,
And they
go,
put a guy with the accent,
country.
and then a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
But it's
vaguely
the same.
country
It's the
riff,
same chord progression as
lyrics.
a Bob Dylan song. It's like
Yeah.
it's a folk song with a
Yeah.
So it's kind of all getting that way. It's getting like a what is it? It's like
homogenized.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the whole, which is cool because then that gives more experimental and things to come out. People like that. Like
Well,
what you're
honestly,
saying.
it's
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
always like if you look at, I mean, for the most part, it's usually been like what the affluent black people are doing in music that is like pushing the limits, and that's still the same.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like, not to make it racial, but if you look at like what the like white rock or whatever, what that is doing is like super boring right now. So when we think of like, oh, good pop music, that's what we thought of, is like these like newer like R&B funkier
Well.
type artists that are like going back to their roots.
The
you know?
music that's all this is built on.
Well,
It's that music.
Yeah,
So,
obviously,
like
yeah.
it's like, I mean, dude, one of my favorites, Motown, Sam Cooke, dude. Just
Oh yeah.
I can listen to his records all the time, and sometimes it's the same formula. But they were doing the same thing that they were doing down in Memphis. They're getting a guy like Sam Cooke in, and they go, "All right, these are the 5 songs you're doing today. 5 songs, 5 hours. You can't use your band. No, of course not. We have a band here, and
Yep.
they know them all, and it's
It's
good.
ready to go.
And they're just all right next. And Aretha
Crank
Franklin
it
walks in, and she
Yep.
comes and does a record.
Oh yeah.
And they were doing it down in Tennessee, and they were doing it up in Detroit.
Stacks.
And no matter which side of it you're on, it's the same process for,
Oh, yeah.
for pop anyway. But now we're sitting there listening to classic rock, going, looking at pop now and thinking that it's different, but it's not. It's just a pop. That's what was popular then.
That's what the formula. Still
Yeah.
the formula.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
It's
it's all
just
built
was,
on
it
that.
just was good. Like James Jamerson of the Funk Brothers.
dude, it's so good, dude.
He's like probably. I mean, I love like Chris Squire, Geddy Lee, and like
Sure.
Cliff Burton, even, and like some of these. Like
But what do they
Jocko.
have without?
But fucking
without
James
Motown?
Jamerson.
Yeah.
That's some good sauce right there.
And a lot of those British bands that we're talking about were
Oh,
just
Paul
like,
McCartney.
oh, we love the American Motown and blues,
Absolutely.
and what was coming out of that was
That's all that they were trying to like. I mean, the Rolling Stones.
yep, Beatles, yep,
Yeah, that's all those guys were trying to do.
yep.
Just wanted to be like a fucking loud blues.
Yeah, and it's So and they then had access to markets that could turn it into pop music.
Right, make it
Right.
popular music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And imagine if we were our age then, if we were 30 in 1964, and we were going, "What the hell is this Beatles shit?"
Yeah.
That's what we'd be saying.
Yeah.
This is for the kids.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean, or whatever. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, technically, that's what I say now, and have always said because
yeah.
I don't like the Beatles.
It always goes back. There's going to be a compilation, and it probably won't take many.
I don't
of
like the
these.
Beatles. Yeah.
Yeah, Alex doesn't like him. I really like him.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
that's just funny that
It is funny.
It'll
We-
be this endless tug of war.
It's pretty funny.
I like
Yeah.
the Beatles, but I'm not an owner of the anthology.
Right.
Like when you get to
Yeah.
one of those guys, are
Yeah,
you an
yeah.
owner of the anthology?
Any band that I like to that level. Like I've got every Yes album.
That is
you know
true.
what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a collector as well.
I see, yeah.
So like I like collecting things I like and things I like, especially bands that have a lot of like a good story.
Yeah.
And a lot of albums. The Beatles, Metallica. Like yes, there's bands that
You
aren't
can
even
watch it transform.
related
Yeah.
at all, except for they have really nice, cool story that's like spans a long time, and they have changed as a band. And I feel like there's a lot you can learn from just music history in general, being a musician.
Oh, yeah.
Not just like what happened in the room or the guys that did it, but like everything else involved. You know?
And you can literally watch their expansion into like what they are perceiving music to be.
Yeah,
so like
the
it
good and
starts
the bad,
with this
you know?
simple pop thing, and
Yeah.
then like in the Beatles case, like their first album is like, I don't really like listening to it because I'll just listen to Motown. It's the same stuff, just done better.
There's a couple
Like
of
that
good
first
songs,
record is like, it's
Please
sloppy.
Please
though.
Me.
It's
Yeah,
sloppy.
oh yeah, of course.
And then we start getting into like, they're actually getting more and more creative.
And better at playing.
And it's cool. They're thinking about it more in a more complex way. I think we're all doing that as our
pushing
bands
the
get-
limit. You want to push the limits of what's acceptable. Like at that time, it was like, well, now we live like we're making postmodern choices to play certain styles. Back then, it was like there's only red, green, and blue or whatever. Like what colors are there? You know, and that's what the '70s were all about. Like, you know, and then the '80s, you add the technology into that. And then it just went from there. But
Pretty much, yeah.
But like at that point, like in the '60s, like the mid '60s especially, it was just like because everybody was like, you know,
and recording technology had just taken off.
and the kids had
you know.
kids had disposable money because it was the post World War II
That's true,
generation,
yeah.
so they were
Interesting.
buying records.
Yeah.
And people were like, "What are you, a band? Sign them up.
Yeah.
Let's give them a deal. Let's see what they got."
Yeah, it's interesting. And how it's changed to be what it is today, where it's basically like, if you do this, you have to just really like it.
You must build it from scratch yourself before anybody is going to give a shit. Or
Yeah,
try
that
to make
too.
money off.
Yeah.
Oh, do you not already make money? Then why would we want you?
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, it's rough. And then you got to be what? You got to be your own publicist and your own manager and your own fucking
Booking agent.
You know, everything, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We that's how you and I learned how to be recording engineers.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
You got to do it to get it done.
Yeah.
So true.
You're a
Save
songwriter.
money.
Yeah.
Makes it possible.
Yeah.
To release
That's
music.
probably why you play all the instruments you play too, right?
Yep.
Because someone's got to play.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Yeah.
Which is a good reason. Any reason to
A songwriter's
pick up
palette,
instruments.
you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was always kind of on the hired end of it. Like I would write songs when I was younger, but I just kind of got into like, I can just write guitar parts.
Yeah, right.
Or play banjo and stuff.
Yeah.
Or play lap steel or do whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I prefer to do that than have to write a whole tune.
That's
Sure.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I love being called in and they go $80 for the track. I'm like, okay. And then I play lap steel on someone and
It's
now it's
great.
out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, right.
You know, I just think that's neat. Dude.
Yeah, that is neat.
I like
it's a
doing
great
that.
thing to do.
Yeah.
I like
I
doing
wish
that.
I did that sometimes.
I did that with bass in New York a bunch of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys are specialists, right? So
What do you
you're a drummer.
Yeah,
And you play guitar, and like in the way like Steve Howe plays guitar, where you imagine the picture of him,
Yeah.
he's got mandolins and everything else. And
Yeah.
you and I are more like songwriters that are do that thing.
No, and that is a
happen
thing.
to play instruments.
That is a thing, and
Yeah.
you can see it when you're in a room with the different, like it's like a big picture thing
Yeah,
or a details.
You need a combination of those people in
Yep.
the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really try to round it out with, because like it would be easy to just go down the singer-songwriter route, but I do try to get technical on the guitar because I don't want to just be like a singer-songwriter
Right,
necessarily.
You definitely are a
you're a good
guitarist.
guitar player.
Yeah, exactly.
for sure.
Because like there's songwriting is weird. There's so many aspects of music that you could work on and get good at. You know what I mean? Like somebody could just do what you're talking about for the rest of their life and be fucking incredible at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And never write a song in their life. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Technically,
Yeah.
that's fascinating to
Yeah.
me. You know, who comes almost from a completely different angle where
That's like pure musician.
yeah.
Rather than like a pure songwriter.
Yeah, than pure song.
We're kind of in the middle.
Which
right?
you have to have musician to get to
Yeah,
song
for sure, for
but
sure.
like it is
it's an extra
Yeah.
step.
it's an extra step. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's an
it's
extra
cool.
step.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like trying to learn how to be more of a songwriter, like like trying to like write that song. Like I've tried to write plenty of songs, and even on the guitar, I like every time I do something or make something on my own, it's like I jam, and then I come up with a structure for like the chord progression and everything, and then I like jam on it and come up with different stuff, and then it's not like I can't really like solo that well.
But you know how to arrange.
It's just an
doing it.
arrangement.
Yeah.
No, that's a hard thing to
Yeah.
do. I think a lot of like, especially like bedroom guitarists, I'd say like you can diddle and fiddle and play all kinds of stuff, but to simplify something to like to contain it enough to where it makes sense.
Yeah, like a finalized idea.
Yeah, finalized idea that's tangible.
That
That isn't just necessarily look what I can do. You know what I mean?
Showcasing.
Yeah, showcasing.
So yeah, in a way, you are writing because you're just not writing
definitely.
a whole song. You're just
No, yeah.
You're fitting in
still
that
writing.
puzzle.
Just,
Yeah.
Being in the studio, like, I still have the awareness of, like, this is what I play in the chorus. This is
Right.
what I play in the
Absolutely.
bridge. This
Yeah.
is what I play at the end.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, I know when all of those are coming intuitively
Yeah.
because
Right.
I've listened to music before.
Right. Yeah.
And it's all, like,
Exactly.
the same patterns. Like,
Yeah.
It's so true. It's really not too difficult. Like the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, like,
This makes sense.
I don't have to step crazy far out of bounds to like write a good song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
most of them aren't.
Yeah, most of them aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like you can
Or a song that people will listen to over and
used to
over
be-
again.
It's a craft.
Man,
it's
like,
a craft to get it so
even
that it's
three
like
chords,
a perfect
like,
little thing.
even the 1 4 5, like say you wrote a song with like G, like D and C or whatever, in whatever combination. Like I used to be so afraid of approaching those chords and writing a song with that because I was afraid that it was like too simple. You know, or like I couldn't, whatever. Mostly that, too simple. But then like you figure out like once you dive into it and like you start singing, you start writing words, you start strumming a certain way.
Yeah, right.
It ends up fucking different, dude.
Yeah.
So like I forget why I was talking about that.
Wasn't a listener. I'm a very active listener. So like with music, I always need like new things. So like when I play, I like to always do new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're,
It's a
you're
very
prog.
progressive way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what are you, and like we were talking about before, what are you doing with the 1-4-5? Are you
Yeah.
just playing a 1-4-5?
Right.
Or is everyone else coming to the table and going
Exactly.
like, let's make this a little interesting?
Yeah.
Because what's cool about a 1-4-5 is everybody's heard it before.
Yeah.
And when you start that, the crowd goes, I'm at a familiar place.
Yes.
And I like that. I like being comfortable.
Yeah.
And then you play something that makes them go, ooh. And then bring the tension back
Yeah.
to the result.
I used to be
Mm-hmm.
so afraid of that
No, it's-
growing up.
We kind of do that in that like Two-Tone Bullet's kind of like that, where it's
Yeah.
like it definitely does what you think it would do.
Yeah.
But it's like the way it happens is like
Yeah, we did Hot Rod 12. That's just 12 bar
Hot Rod's
rockabilly.
just- little hot rod. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, little hot rod.
That's all it is.
But yeah.
We should probably say adieu to our listeners. It's been over an hour.
Oh, it has been an
Oh,
hour.
It's been a blast. I'd love to have you back sometime, Dylan.
Yeah.
It's
Let's do
been
it.
great having you.
It's very
And
awesome.
it
Great
made me think
conversation.
we should have a version of the podcast where we're in our studio jamming. So I just think we would jam. I want to jam with you.
That would
Yeah.
be sick.
That would be really
I'll
fun.
jam with you, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, or even like we can, have guitars out, talk about concepts.
Yeah, right.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
In the
Totally,
studio
man.
would be cool. That'd
Yeah.
be easy.
Yeah.
You know.
Right on.
Yeah, dude.
All right, guys. Thanks for being on the Van Brain with Dylan and the lads, and we'll see you next week.
Peace
Thanks
out,
for
y'all.
having me,
Peace out.
dude.
Peace out.